What kind of hours did y'all work at the mill?
Well, worked 8 hours, but around Christmas, Thanksgiving, we'd run double shifts. I would work 3 o'clock one evening and work 7 o'clock the next morning.
And you get paid overtime for that?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay. And how many years did you work at the mill?
I worked off and on there about 5 years.
And why did you decide to leave Cabbagetown? You said you left in the 60s?
I got married and moved over to Grant Park area, yeah.
I see. And can you talk a little bit about the management at the mill and how they related to the workers? Was there a clear distinction between the people that owned and managed the mill versus the workers, and what was the relationship like?
Well, I never meet the people that own it, but my boss and supervisors, they was real nice. All our department, I don't know how it was in the rest of the mill, but evidently it was pretty good because they stayed there. We had people move down from Blue Ridge Mountains and find houses up here on Boulevard, and had a boarding house right here on Boulevard. It's no longer there. Bud Lamar and them moved down from Blue Ridge and become real good friends with Cabbagetown, and they stayed. And then, but some of them would work a week, and then on the weekends they'd go back home.
Oh, so they didn't, the managers, some of the managers and owners didn't actually live in Cabbagetown?
No.
And whereabouts did they live?
Well, my boss, Jack Strickland, he lived right here on Torres Street. But Mr. Heinekens, I don't know where they live, but my boss lived right here on Torres Street.
And was that considered Grant Park?
No, Grant Park. Torres Street's right here.
Oh, okay. So he lived your boss lived in Cabbagetown then. I see. And why did they bring people from Blue Ridge to work here?
The people just coming down hunting work, I reckon, and they found a job at the mill.
And when did they start doing that?
Oh, they was doing that before I even went to work over there. I heard my mom and them talk about people coming down from up there in Blue Ridge and hunting jobs. They'd find jobs like over at Fulton Bag, and sometimes they'd find work out there at Exposition. Sometime at Scottsdale, I think Scottsdale somewhere out in Decatur.
And do you think a lot of maybe some people came and then family members followed them because they heard about the work that they could get down here?
Well, I hear my mom and dad talk about that, but the ones that come down from Blue Ridge was Bud Lamar and one we call Booger. No, they was just young men, and they just come down. I guess they wanted to get away from up there. Couldn't find any work, and then they'd go to work in the mill, and then they'd find a house to rent, and they stayed. I had got down to Cabbagetown when the mill closed up, so I don't know whatever happened to them. But Paul Stamey, he was my boss. He come down from I can't think that little North Georgia town. It's just right up the road there, Jasper, Georgia. He was my boss on the second shift, and we'd get off on the weekend, and I'd go up and spend the night with him and his mom up in this little beautiful place up there between two mountains. I don't even know if the place is still up there or not, but we'd leave out Monday morning and come back in time to get to work on the second shift, and he's from up in Jasper. So, but most of the people worked in the mill. A lot of them were living right here in Cabbagetown. They just walked to work. And I think Bud Lamar, he couldn't find a house here in Cabbagetown, so he running from these two ladies way up here on Boulevard by the park. That's on the corner, I think, Oranwood and Boulevard. And he stayed there for years with her, working in the mill. And in fact, he got a better paying job. I don't know where it was at. He still stayed with that little lady. But I've heard my mom and dad talk about people coming down from the mountains and getting a job at the mill, and then later on bringing their family with them.
And when you say Blue Ridge, you mean, is it particularly in Georgia, or did they come from Tennessee, Carolinas?
Yeah, up in the Carolina mountains, yeah. Blue Ridge.
And how did they? Do you remember anybody coming from as far as Virginia or Tennessee or Kentucky?
No, not when I was working there.
Mostly from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And do you know what year the mill opened?
Oh, I don't have an idea.
And what year did it close?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I heard Leon Littles. He owns a little grocery. He's been he knows a lot of the history more than I do about Cabbagetown, because I think he said they closed the mill in '70, and then they closed the sewing department where the lady sewed a year later.
And do you remember what people how it affected people, or do you remember any kind of conversations about when the mill closed, how it changed? Did people move out, or did they stay here? Or?
No, they moved. Some of them moved out, and some of them died out, and then some of the houses started in the neighborhood started, just decaying and rotting away, and a lot of drug activities in here. So I was told. Because my mom and dad still lived up on Powell when I was over there living in the Grunt Park area, but mom and dad moved from Powell over to the little apartments on Ormwood there called, I forget the name of that old, it's right off Confederate Avenue there, and that's where they both lived when they died.
And do you know where people went to work after the mill closed? The people that stayed here, do you know where they?
No, I don't know. I don't know. Some of them might have retired. I don't know, but I know. I don't know where they went or what kind of job they got, but most of them was when I was got out of Cabbagetown. They was getting up years itself, and some of them might have retired. So I know some of them passed away, but. And then you got a new group of people coming in, buying houses up and fixing them up, and they before was old timers lived down here.
And when you say old timers, is you talking about people that were born here or worked at the mill?
Yeah, work here, and well, not so much. Some of them didn't work. Pete Waltrip, he's always done roofing work. He lives right here on the corner of Kirkwood and Ty Park. I don't know if you ever been through there or not. Are you familiar with Cabbagetown?
Yeah.
Well, he lived right there on the corner of Kirkwood and Ty Street.
Okay.
He got a wishing well there, and he's one of the old timers. And then you got Sarah Knight that lives right here from Friendship Church. She was on the store down on Kirkwood. So that's two. And me, and I think Louise Wade that lives out here on Ty and Wiley. She married a guy named Jesse Boyd. And that's four. I think Patsy Clunk moved out about 3 years ago. She lived right up here on Savannah Street. I don't know where she got off to, but even before it was left.
Now, besides yourself, the other three, have they been here the whole time, or have they moved away and then come back?
Most Saver's always been here, and Pete, and so is Louis. And I moved over, like I said, on Cherokee Avenue for a while, and then George Avenue. But then when they started building these habitat houses, I put in for one and got one.
So this is a habitat house?
Yeah, these first three houses, next two houses up is habitat houses. Yeah.
I see. And why did you decide to come back to Cabbagetown?
Well, I was trying to I wanted to get back in Cabbagetown. Well, there used to be a little guy right here that worked this Emmanuel Church on Memorial Drive and Brent Avenue, Tommy Clemens. I think he worked in that church for 50-something years, and he knew my mom and dad. And he come in food giant where I worked out there on Moreland Avenue, and he said, "You was born and raised Powell Street, wasn't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, they building some habitat houses down there, and they're trying to get the people back in there." He said, "Why don't you go put in for one?" So I said, "Well, I said, okay, I'll think about it," and I just passed it off, And about a couple of weeks later, he come back in with his little wife and says, "You ought to go down there and put in for one." And so, just him being, kind like that. And I said, well, I wouldn't get back in. And so my sister and my wife went up there at the church on where the office was at the time, right on Moreland Avenue, and put it in. But I didn't think I'd even get one. I just more or less done that to please Tommy, and lo and behold, I got it.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
Well, I got this house paid off this November, been 27 years ago.
Okay.
And,
wow, so that was a while ago.
Yeah. Like I said, if you made too much money, you couldn't get it, and you had to be on your job a certain amount of time. know, before you get it. So, you know, I went over with my sister and wife did, and they come out to my house to see the condition over there in Lakewood. And, you know, I didn't have any earthly idea I'd get it. I just, you know, my sister and wife went there to talk to them. And next thing I know, they, and, you know, I have always worked in a grocery store other than the mill there. And that's my kid brother right there. He lives with me. He builds things and all that. I can't saw a straight line or a hammer or a nail, but you had to do so many hours on a habitat house to get it. If I could get you and Jerry or whoever else to work on it hours, that would go towards my, you know, helping me get it. But, you know, I got it.
Right. And what was the I'm gonna move my chair over here a little bit. What was the neighborhood like when you moved in here 27 years ago? Was it as you remembered it?
Well, see, I used to come back and visit my mom, and some of the people I grew up with, teenagers, they done got married and got out. And some of the little kids, you know, they got up and they hang out on the corner and they got into, I don't know how they got into drugs, because I know their people wouldn't like it when we was growing up. But a lot of hanging on the corners and people coming through. And when I moved back here, the Red Dogs come through here just about every night at midnight.
Did people ever mess with you or your house?
Oh, no. We all respected each other. And there was a lot of fighting on the corner out here. And then some of the people that moved into Cabbagetown wouldn't like it was when I was growing up and moved back. And that's just, I don't know if they brought the drugs in themselves, but there's still a lot of good people back in. It's cleaned up a whole lot now.
So how is it different now, and how fast did the change occur?
It took about 10 years. When people come in and started building their houses, you know, buying these houses up and fixing them up. But when I first moved back here, the people that was buying the houses up, they wasn't as friendly. They talk to you and speak to you, you know. But if you run into them and had their own little group of people, you can tell when somebody don't want to talk to you, you know. So I steer clear of them people. But they've moved out, you know. I guess they bought the houses and fixed them up and moved out. But the people in here now, it's been in here a good 15 years, 8 years. They remind me of the people of Cabbagetown, and if people done died and passed on could see how Cabbagetown is now, I think they'd be real proud of it. And because when we was growing up down here, people would visit for hours at a time, you know, and we'd listen to the Atlanta Crackers play baseball before we got any pro teams, you know. But now, I guess this generation, I go around to Carroll Street Cafe, which used to be Bill's Grill, and had a little cafe, sold breakfast food and hamburgers. You just sit around and talk like me and you talk, and carry on a conversation over a good hot meal. I went around to Carroll Street Cafe a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday. Got me a cup of coffee, and just to see, you know, how many people would come in there and sit down and get your meal. They'd come in, they'd be on that phone doing this. They'd go over and sit down, and they'd be doing that till the waitress would come up, and they'd stop, and they'd take their order, and they'd go right back to doing that. And then the whole time they was there, they was doing this, and round out of the other day.
I gotta go. Talking about the phone, they were on the phone, and
yeah, and then this just week I go up. I sit on Carroll Street. I don't know who named me mayor of Cabbagetown, but I'm not no more mayor than you are. I take a. Did you see that lady right there when you looked in pictures? Those two ladies right there in that wooden frame.
Mm-hmm.
That's my mom and sister. Mom passed away this December, I think it was 12 years ago. She's 91. And that's like I told you. That's my kid brother Marshall. That's Mildred. She lives in Union City. And what were we talking about? I think.
Oh, you were talking about going to the cafe and kids were on their phone.
Yeah. And somebody named me. I don't know who stuck at me or Cabbagetown, but I love meeting people and talking, finding out where they're from. And I go out there on Carroll Street Cafe and sit most of the time, or sit out there on a little and talk to these people coming up and down on their Segways and their bicycles. And I'll talk to the people that's eating at the little sidewalk cafe when it's warm weather. You ever been around there?
Yeah.
And I just love meeting people. My brother says as long as I'm living, Mom or Dad won't be dead. But I love meeting people and finding out where they're from, cutting up with them and joking, So I don't meet no stranger. I use the saying my mom used. I don't meet a stranger. A stranger is just a friend I hadn't met yet.
Right.
So
now, see, a lot of people that are living around here now are younger people.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think too many of them have families. Is that something that's different than when you were growing up? Were there more kids out around playing?
Man, gosh, yeah. When in the summertime when school was out, we'd be playing touch football right up here on Savannah Street, 1 o'clock in the morning. The little girls would be playing hopscotch. And two guys be out there playing catch with a baseball. And then we'd hang around on Carroll Street. We had a curfew then when we was growing up. You had to be off the street by 11 o'clock or they'd lock you up. And but people, like I said, people visit more. Yeah, and they was they 6, 7 little ladies this past year's had babies and that live in here. And here's having families now.
I see. So I guess that the first stage is to have the young people move in, and then pretty soon it's the families that follow after that, probably.
Yeah, if they stay long enough, and if they buy. But I know I have on now Ryan. He comes up here. He lives over here in East Atlanta somewhere. He comes down here to Carroll Street Cafe every morning, and he'll go to work. But he hangs out on the weekend. Got a little girl named August, and I met her 4 years ago. So there's Ryan. Then out here at Abbey on the corner of Powell and Gaskell. Got a little girl, Parker. She's 2 years old. And then there's James and Dana live here on the corner. They moved up here on Savannah Street. They have one. And that's 3. And then the lady lives right here behind me on Pick Saturday. That's 5. So these 8 or 9 just had little newborn babies.
Okay. Do you remember many cars being on the street when you were a kid?
No, not that many. Right here where the expressway is, where I went to school, where you get off I-20 there, we told you Leon Little's on that store around there. We'd go out Grant Park on Saturday and Sunday and play baseball. They had a semi-pro baseball team. And we'd play till they got ready. They'd come out and mark the field off. But down here in Cabbagetown, and in back right here, where the paramedics is on Memorial Drive, that used to be a baseball diamond where Fulton Bag had a baseball, and they played baseball down there. Back in that, they had those streetcars. They didn't have the buses. They had those streetcars.
And where did the streetcar go?
Well, it'd come from downtown, come right down Estoria. Drive and go up Estoria and back through, come through Reynoldstown. Yeah.
So it was out in Boulevard out here, the streetcar, or?
No, Memorial Drive.
I see.
Yeah, no, didn't have no buses on Boulevard there.
Do you remember the name of the Grant Park baseball team?
Jackson Long.
Jackson Long.
Yeah, they were sponsored by the Jackson Long Company downtown on Alabama, and they also had Millstead in there in the league. Had East Atlanta, had Porterdale, Tucker, and I think Fulton Bag was in there.
Did they have a nickname for the Fulton Bag team, or?
Just Fulton Bag Cotton Mill team. That's what they was called.
And did they have uniforms?
Oh yeah, you had them old wool saggy uniforms. I remember I was 13 years old, and Pick Rick also had a baseball team, and they right down here where the right field fence was where the Atlanta Dairies loading dock was. And that Fulton Bag pitcher got a crick in his neck watching that ball fly over that right field fence, hitting on that loading dock. But and also out here at Grand Park, they had a city league softball team. You had a fast pitch, a slow pitch, and a modified pitch, and you could sit on the bench out there, and they'd play baseball on Saturday and Sunday, and during the week you'd play softball.
Did the Fulton Bag team, did they get money from the mill owners to put the team together? Or is something they did on their own?
I think people, I was told to they worked there. They had, work there to make the team. And then they had, I forget this gentleman's name, he used to live right here on the corner. I think he wasn't about 16 years old. This is Oldtimers talking, that they lied about his age to get him a job in the mill where he could play because he's good. I know they had one little guy, I can't think of his name, called him Flop because he got real big ears. And me and my girlfriend come up one day a week, and we go out here to Andy and Bill's in Forest Park and sit with Gene and Don. We'll have breakfast, sit around and talk. And Flop, his last name was Heron. His little wife died here about 2 years ago. He worked in the mill. He's still living. He's 85 years old. And he's sharp as a tack. His mind's sharp as a tack. But he played second base for Fulton Bag. And then later on he played for Fulton. I think Fulton Bag dropped out. He played for Jackson Long, and they played out here.
And did the workers have to pay for their own uniforms and their own equipment?
I really don't know because I was 13 years old when they was playing. I would imagine they got sponsored. Now Jacob, I can't think his last name. His people on his grandparents own the mill, and he lives in that mill law. And going to open up a little art place right here next to Mary Tides. What's his last name? Jacob Elston or something, but his grandparents own that mill.
And you don't remember his last name?
I know, I can't think of it. Eccles or something like that.
Okay. Did you all go out and see the Crackers play at Ponce de Leon Park?
I lived at Ponce de Leon Ballpark. You ever been on that bell line over here? You ever been up Glenwood where that school is? Where that new school? Yeah, okay. Have you been up Glenwood there where they building Kroger? They're building a Kroger there. Mm-hmm. You been out there?
Yeah, okay. Right near Ormwood Park.
Well, no, this is right here, this side of the access road. It's right down the street, right across the street from where the high school is.
Okay.
If you're coming up that way, and when you come right a few feet up past where they build on that Kroger, the school sits on the left. Right. Well, there's a little driveway goes up this way. There's apartments there called Glen Castle or something, and that used to be the old woman's prison. Okay, the Grant Park School that I went to was right there on the other side of that one. You have to go up and come by this church and come back down to get into it. But that was a golf course right there at the time. And me and a buddy of mine, I lived right up here on Powell, where Kirkwood comes into Powell, and he lived on Kirkwood. We'd go over at the Key Golf Course and caddy all day. And then we would hit that belt line, which was the railroad tracks. And that old train would be coming down through there real slow, and we'd just jump in that boxcar with our feet dangling out, and we'd go right down to where the right field fence was, and jump off of it and slide down that little bank, which is about high as this roof down to the steps there, and go in there and get our tickets. And I lived, and then we'd walk back up Ponce de Leon and hitchhike back down Boulevard.
Did the streetcar go from here to the stadium at all?
Yeah, the streetcars run that way out through Ponce de Leon and all, but we always walked the railroad track could get right here and hitchhike. Have you ever heard of the Azars? I went to school with John and Jackie, and their daddy, Mr. Azar, he would get a ride with him. He always called us pal, and I'd always ask about it. Yeah, we'd either hitchhike up Boulevard or go down the railroad tracks. And I got to meet Stan Musial out there one year. I think I was 12 years old, man. I had to shoot it back. I wanted to be like them baseball players. And he was going through the stands, shaking people's hands. And I heard him tell him. Of course, I just stood there and looked. I was in awe, He rubbed me on the head, but he said, "What's the matter? You got a toothache?" I said, "No, son, I got tobacco." He said, "You need to spit that stuff out." But this guy said, "Hey, Stan, so why are you doing that?" He said, "Well, the boss wants us to come out and shake a few hands." And I was out there when the Yankees come through, when the pro team would be breaking camp and heading back north, they stopped by and played the Crackers. The Yankees out there one year, and Red Sox come through, and I was out there. I forget what year it was. Tim McCarver called for the Crackers, when it played for the Cardinals. I don't know if you know like baseball or not, but later, following year, forget what year it was. Tech also had Crackers also had a player. I think his name was Bill LaJoy, is how you pronounce it. But anyhow, Crackers moved up from AA to AAA, and they had traded Bill LaJoy. And he come back that next year, boy, and I think they beat Atlanta about 17-2 or something. Old LaJoy hit a home run, and when he crossed home plate, he said something to Tim McCarver, and all hell broke loose. Had a free for all, man. And that I was out there one year, and Atlanta had a center fielder called Ralph Country Brown, from Somerville, Georgia. And Memphis Chicks was in town for a game, and they had 4 guys that was supposed to be the fastest things ever put on a uniform. And they was going to race Country Brown from home plate down to the right field foul line where the signs come into right field foul line. And that it run parallel to Ponce Leon. That's where the right field was, just like Ponce Leon. There, and so them 4 guys got down there, got down like that, and old Country Brown just stood up and he popped that starter pistol. And when they got to the first base dugout, they just went under the dugout because Country Brown done left them at the starting gate.
Do you remember the Magnolia Tree out in center field? Was that actually in the field, or was it just beyond the fence?
No, it was 402 feet to center field, and then you had a little old bank about high as this table, and that big old Magnolia Tree sit behind it. A little further. No, they'd never come in and play in the game. But I know Junior Wooten caught a fly ball up on that bank, which is a little further than 402. Throw that ball on the fly and hit the backstop.
So you didn't have a fence out there? The bank was the fence?
No, they just had and then later on they put a little a fence up. The fence from the left field fence. And then later on they took that down. But I remember one time New Orleans Pelicans came there and they roped it off. And it was over what they call overflow crowd. And I sat out there on that bank.
So if the ball hit the bank, that was a home run?
Yeah, it was in play. If you caught it, if you caught it, it was an out. But no, if you hit it over your head, the ball's in play. You have to throw it back in and try to get the runner out. But no, they took that fence down. It took a poke to get that ball out. Then you had in the right field, you had, I think it's 4 tier signs, and with advertising on it, like Jim Razor Blades and Carlin Black Label Beer, and hit that ball. You talking about the people growing up down here, the Harpers and the Longs. you know, and we'd play together. She carried Richard Harper out there one year to the ball game. It was on Sunday, and Chuck Collier played second base for the Crackers. And after the game was over, you could just run across the field and go out to right field, you know, if you wanted to. And so me and Richard decided to go across the field, and Chuck Collier had just knocked in the winning run in the ninth inning, and he was standing there signing off autographs. And I told Richard, I said, "Come on, let's go." I looked back, and Richard just standing there like I'm looking at you. He's looking at Chuck Collier. And so the next morning, right here on Powell Street, where I live, 2 doors down, Miss Jones lived. I'd always stop and read her sports section because she didn't mind, you know. And when I opened it up, there stood Richard Harper, looking where Chuck Collier was signing his autographs. And Richard lived up here on Hard Street, so I folded that and put it in my back pocket. And come up to Rich, I said, "You know, you on the front page of the sports section?" He said, "Nah, I ain't." I said, "Yeah, you are too." I said, "You remember when you stopped and watched Chuck Collier sign them autographs?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "But I didn't talk to him, so he didn't sign my autograph." I just pulled that paper out and give it to him, you know, and there he stood, just plain as you are, sitting right there. And you know, he kept that thing started turning yellow. The paper did, you know. But
what was I going to ask you? Well, what was the relationship between the mill workers from Blue Ridge and the surrounding African American communities? Was there much
no, they wasn't.
socializing between?
The black people didn't come through here. You know, my mom always taught us three is to respect people. She didn't care what color they was. The good Lord put them here just like He did us. And now, right, you know where Reynoldstown is? You know where that Colgate building is right here? There used to be an old empty field called Red Hill. And you could get drinks for 5 cents. And on Saturday and Sunday, everybody, just about every teenager down here loved playing sports. We'd get nine guys and go up there and play them boys from Reynoldstown. And when I was pitching, maybe you'd umpire. And when you was pitching, I'd umpire. And we played all day on Saturday and Sunday. If you can imagine sliding in that old red dirt and getting sweaty and all. And like I said, you could buy drinks for 5 cents. And we'd always split. We'd buy them. Sometimes they'd buy us a drink. But if we didn't have enough money to buy everybody, you know, I had 18 players, you know, on both, you know, 9 on each team. But we would have these little solo cups, and we stopped belonging up to, and that little store building right there is still there, but they tore it down and rebuilt it. They had a little store right there, and the people that owned the store lived in the back where they, you know, had the back there, and we pour half the drink in the solo cups, and I remember I chewed the back off. I wanted to be like them ball players. And Lorenzo, he was their pitcher, and he'd be calling balls and strike when I was pitching. And I reached back and I got my beats nut tobacco and got me a big old chaw of it. And Lorenzo said, "Can I have some of that?" I just handed him the pack, you know. He says, "So what about getting me some? So my hands are dirty." I said, "My hands dirty too." And he said, "Well, what will they say?" I said, "They ain't gonna say nothing about you getting that tobacco." You know, he said, "Yeah, but I'm." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm black." And I said, "What's that got to do with it?" And old Cuba, and you know, when we first started going by playing them, they come up on the bicycle, they'd be riding on the crossbars, and they have a breeches leg rolled up, and they'd have, they just looked different, dressed different, and they had nicknames, you know, and that, you know, and
do you remember any of the nicknames?
Yeah, old Cue Ball, his name was Pete, no, Papa Pete. He had a big old burnt scar on his left elbow, and then what was the pitcher's name? He had a woman on each arm, He was man, good grippy. Pete, cue ball. I never did think Larry. That was his name, Larry. Right there with that some kind of trail they call it right here on right down the street from Homegrown. They have brunch there. It's that old train station. And I can't think the name of that little trail there. But anyhow, that's where the left field fence was, and the loading dock. Big old high wire fence with 3-string barbed wire. And I just one time I just wanted to see how far old Larry could hit that ball, and I grooved him one right down the middle. He hit that thing about 400 feet. Of course, we had a pretty good lead on him, but sometimes they'd wear us out, and sometimes we wear them out. Never had a crossword. And
did you all ever go into the Reynoldstown, or did the Reynoldstown people ever come over here?
No. We'd sit down on Pearl Street and have rock battles.
So what was the dividing line between?
Right there on Pearl Street.
So you guys would have with the rock battles just for fun, or was it actually some?
No, serious stuff.
Okay.
You know, and we just thank good. Just looking back on it, Ted, thank God, thank good Lord, we didn't put nobody's eye out, break no windows. You know, but
right.
But Cabbagetown, when I was growing up down there, if you come through here, you come through here running. Because I never did fight, my mom would tear my, you know. But just say Carroll Street was the main drag back in, and just say you moved in or anywhere in Cabbagetown. Maybe your dad went to the working mill, and your mom went to the working mill, and you had a brother or sister. And that's you're gonna get out, you know, walk. You're gonna go in these little hamburger joints on Carroll Street, and them boys from Cabbagetown, you can tell right quick, you know, you wouldn't. You just moved in here, and they're gonna try you. And they might just come by, you know, like you're sitting there. One might come by if you had a hat on, you just might knock it off. They just might bump into you, you know. He might say, "Son, what are you looking at?" And you know, if you let them know right quick, you ain't gonna take that shit, you know, and you'd bow up to them, you know, and if you weren't gonna be picked on. Then you right then they'd leave you alone, and you would become one of them. So if anybody else come here and try and mess with you, you'd have to mess with them. Bellwood out here, way out Marietta Street. Are you familiar with the Ridgefield Boys Club?
Mm-mm.
Well, they all over the United States. And we had one at the end of the street here on Carroll Street, and they had 18 and over and 14 and over teams, you know. And they'd play other like Bellwood, Prior Street Boys Club, which is no longer there, and Lakewood. I forget this little name of this. Goodwill up here had a baseball team, and Salvation Army, you know, had the Fulton Shield Boys Club. And these guys down here, you couldn't beat them in football and baseball. They won trophy after trophy.
The guys in Cabbagetown?
Yeah.
Were you ever on any of those teams?
No, I never did play. I went to work, you know, went to work, but we just choose up and play side. But Bellwood, every time Cabbagetown Bellwood played, they'd be at the game, be fist fight. Prior Street Boys Club, man, there'd be some heck of fights between Prior Street and Lakewood too, you know, and you never did. And like I said, when you moved in here, you had to take your part. Or
did the mill do any activities with the community, or was it strictly just a work relationship? Like, did they have any kind of like store that they give you script for, or have any kind of doctors that would help out?
Yeah, scripts right here where the agave is. Mill on that place, you know, and they have scripts, yeah.
So that was a general store?
Yeah, right there.
And people...
Well, of course, you had a lot of little... yeah, they own that, and you had a lot of little corner grocery stores in Cabbagetown. In fact, you had one right here on the corner of Powell and Gaskell, where the two-story house is. And you come up Powell to Kirkwood, there's two right there. And you have one right on the corner of Harrell and Pearl. And then you have one on Kirkwood between Reynoldstown and Cabbagetown, a little small corner grocery store.
Were any of them owned by the mill?
No, just this one right here, where the Gabi is.
And did they have their own money system, or did you just pay regular dollars there?
I really don't know how that worked because Leon was talking about that the other day. I just remember my mom and dad going, when he worked in the mill, going there at that little store there.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about some of the characters you remember from the neighborhood, some of the popular, you mentioned earlier Booger. I think he was kind of a character in the neighborhood that everybody knew. Can you talk about any people like that?
We have my nephew and Red Top Harper. He's dead and gone now. He died back in the summer. And my nephew's name, he told this story. My nephew lived down here on Gaskell Street, and he got people, if you had to be 21 to buy a beer. So Reed, that's my nephew, and Tony later on become Reed's, Tony Keller later on become Reed's brother-in-law, and another brother. So they got this guy, I forget who it was, buying them some beer. And Red Top had his beer, and Red Top's supposed to be the lookout for the police. And Reed said they just started drinking their quarter beers, in this Hind Mac store in the little alley there. Red Top right here on Bryn and Gaskell, Reed said before he turned his beer up to drink, he done got a half drink, He said he turned it up and turned around to the big old police. And they done got Red Top, and they got Reed and Tony. And of course, the police knew all of them down here, knew their parents, and he told me, well, I'm gonna let you go this time. Said, yeah, they'll catch you drinking anymore. Said, I'm not gonna let you go. I'm gonna lock you up. And Reed said, Red Top said, I thought you were gonna let us know when the police come in. And Red Top stuttered, police. And time he got it out, it's too late then.
Huh.
Yeah, they had they were some characters down here then, and they are now. It's all good though.
Yeah.
Good.
Do you remember the names of any of the stores? The names of them?
Yeah, Mac was out here on the corner of Bryn and Gaskell, and then like I said, Sarah Knight had one down on Kirkwood. She still lives here on Ty Street. And then Harry Barnes up here on Kirkwood. And of course Manfred Little right here where Brad's guy is. And right up here on the corner of Woodward and Boulevard was Miss Bradford's. And up here on the corner of Pearl and Harold Lebowski. And that was about the only one around in here.
How many people when you were a kid had cars? How many families had cars, do you think?
Well, they wouldn't have very been. Miss Barnes that lived across from us up there, they had one daughter, Carol. He worked for the railroad, and then they was well off when the TVs first come out. Miss Barnes was the first one in the neighborhood to have one, and all kids get around, watch Hopalong casting. The main one was the Lone Ranger. We didn't miss that. You know what a pressure cooker is?
Yeah.
Remember when them things first come out? Crock pots a whole lot. My dad used to drink a lot, and so did Mr. Barnes. But my mom and Miss Barnes, they called her Mama Jack, would play Chinese checkers. And Dad and Mr. Barnes would be over there listening to the Atlanta Crackers play baseball. And Dad would go over there and sit one inning, and then when the inning was over, he'd come back home and get him a shot of that apricot brandy. Then he'd go back over there and listen to another. But anyhow, the more pops get to whistling, and Dad told me, Mama Jack said, you better listen out for that thing. Says they ain't got the kinks worked out of it yet. And said that thing's a whistling. You know how they get the whistling when they get. He said that about the fourth inning. He went back over there. He said that thing, that lady come off of that thing. It said that she was cooking Great Northern beans. It said them beans was all over the ceiling, the wall, everything in the house. Huh. And I hadn't seen one of them things, and I don't know when. Now they come out with a crock pot.
Right. So when you were a kid, did many families have cars here, or did most people just walk everywhere?
Well, no. Now my dad, he walks everywhere. I just turned 77, 12th this month, and I never drove a car. But yeah, there's quite a few had cars, but not near as many as they got now. And all these streets was two ways, you know. And yet, just walk right up Powell Street, or right up Brent Avenue, or right up Cabbagetown and catch the bus. Go downtown, wherever you had to go. And
so the streets were two-way back then, huh?
Yeah, in Cabbagetown it was.
What did they do with trash pickup? Did they pick up the trash in the backs of the houses and alleys?
Yeah, well, back in the 40s and 50s, yeah. Yep. You had a garbage truck come by, and you had two black guys on. If you're coming up Powell or down Powell, you just be on one side of the street and the other on the other side of the street. You go behind the houses and get the garbage. You come back and throw the garbage in there, and you carry the cans back around in the backyard. And then they come out. I don't know what year they come out with these Herbies and all, but yeah, they had the. And then you had the guys coming by cleaning these sewers out, and they had these big old long shovels. Excuse me, and they get all the stuff out of that sewer and pile it up on the street, and then later on, here come the truck by, and you had these two black guys on either side throwing it in the truck, and then out of that, here comes the street sweeper. And boy, them kids just stand on that sidewalk and let that water hit them and all. Now, they still come by every now and then through here in the summertime, but they have one come down here every night, coming up Boulevard and right down Boulevard and going back up that way. I don't know where they're heading, but.
Do you remember the kids breaking into the fire hydrants at all and having the water spray everywhere in the summer?
Well, when I moved back right here, I told you this guy named Greg Chapsay. He was a troublemaker. And there's something going on there 7 nights a week, all night long. Police would call out there just about every other night. And they knew what was going on, and you know, but we, me and my brother and our nephews all, we didn't care what they did as long as they didn't bother us with it. Because sooner or later they're going to get caught. We never did believe on ratting anybody. If you out selling dope, you're going to get caught sooner or later. As long as you're not bothering me with it. That may be a lot of people might look down their noses the way I look at that, but as long as they don't bother me or bother my children, I don't care what they do, because they'll get what's coming to them. So there's a lot of fighting and going on. And like I said, my mom always taught us three. We see people, we don't see color. My dad, when he worked in that mill and kept the plumbing up, he had two black guys working for him, Albert and Robert. And Robert was a Christian, and my mom was too. Now my dad drank, and Robert, when he got through working, he lived right there on Decatur Street, and right there on Powell, got it closed up. Now there used to be an underpass right there where the coal company was. And Robert, he come over and this is way before the blacks ever thought about, integrating. Sat right there on the front porch and talk to my mom and discuss that Bible. And Albert, and when Dad was keeping the plumbing up in the mill, right down here on Memorial Drive where the chop shop used to be, they just closed that thing up about 6 months ago. that was Kelly's liquor store. Dad was seeing Robert, excuse me, I'm sorry, was seeing Robert down there, and Mr. Kelly knew Dad. Had a whiskey called Krugen Hammer. Krugen. And Robert couldn't say Krugenhammer, he said Crooked Hammer. But Mr. Kelly knew who it was for. Robert bring it back to Dad, and they'd be might be across the street or anywhere. See, all these houses down here is not mill houses. Not mill on. A lot of them are. And Dad would say, "You want to shout this, Robert?" No, Mr. Edwards. No, Albert. My dad turned that thing up and drank half of it and then give Albert the rest of it. Wonder if they hadn't got fired. Because I know they got drunk, but
Right.
But Robert come up one way. I remember something I can remember clear as a bell, and some I remember just about dusk dark. Mom had just got supper put on the table. She had cooked some of them big old cat head biscuits, fried some sausage and sliced tomatoes, and a pot of coffee on the stove, on that old wood stove. And somebody knocked on his door. Mom, and I'd always go to the door with Mom. And it was Robert. She said, "Robert, come on in and have some supper." He said, "I believe I will, Miss Edwards." So she turned around, and he started around the house. She said, "Where you going, Robert?" He said, "I'm going to the back door." She said, "Come right through you can come through this front door right." He said, "No, ma'am, no, ma'am." Said, I wouldn't do that for nothing in the world. And he said, "Because these people in Cabbagetown said, it's us black folks." And I never could understand that, and I still don't understand why it was like that. But Mom said, "You come through this front door." And said, "Don't you worry about what these people." So they ain't gonna say nothing to you. And she said, "This is my house. My husband pays rent here, and I say who can come in my house and who can't." And he did, and there wasn't a word said about it. Cause my mom, I tell you what, she get on you. We used to be an old black gentleman come up through here. People save rags and paper for him. The old white-headed black gentleman.
You remember his name?
No, sir. He'd come up with his little mule and wagon, and he'd say, "Whoa." And then people bring paper, rags, whatever they save for him. And some of the people told him, like Miss Barnes, says, "You can go behind, if we're not here, go behind the house and you can get them." Well, he'd come back, get in that wagon, and say, "Get up, get up." That old mule started clomping, he'd go to the next house. Well, me and my brother, we thought we'd have a little fun out of him. So when he went behind Miss Barnes' house, we said, "Get up." That old mule started, so we turned to run, smack dab into Mom. She told Marcia, she said, "You go." About that time, that old gentleman come by and whoa, 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 and the mule stopped. She told Marcia, "You going in the house, I'll be in there in a minute." We had a peach tree in the backyard, and she had got a peach tree limb off that thing with little knots on it. She said, "Roll that britches leg up." I rolled that britches leg up. She rolled it on up. I rolled it up. "Come on up with it." I got it past my kneecap. And then she laid into me. And I knew not to run. She had me by the shoulder, and she started at my heel. She said, "Get up, get up." Boy, I was jumping up. Like you jump for a rebound or something. She said, "Get up." And then she said, "Whoa, whoa," and I'd stop. Then she started again. When she got through making me jump more, I had little red marks and crying like it. But if a minute when that old gentleman come up with that mule and wagon, I was just like this right here. Now I didn't say get up anymore. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember a community near here, near the interstate, called Buttermilk Bottom? Is that name?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I ain't too familiar with that, but one I'm familiar with is right over here. This fire station, you sit right here on the corner of Bryan and Oakland. and there's a little alley run from Bryan over to Woodward Avenue. But I never did get over or know anything about Buttermilk Bottom. It was gone. I heard about it when I was a kid, but it was gone, the time I got it.
So what are the names of some of the other neighborhoods beside Reynoldstown that bordered Cabbagetown?
Just at Reynoldstown and maybe Grant Park.
Okay.
Right there.
Did you all go into downtown Atlanta, down at 5 Points ever?
Oh, I used to live down at 5. When I got old, and go to work in that mill, I'd go down to Big Town Pool Hall and just walk. I used to know like downtown like the back of my hand. I went down there about 10 years ago. My girlfriend's daughter graduated from Georgia State, and she's in this dragon kind of stuff. Man, I tell you what, I was lost, and we was down on Peachtree, and I used to go all over downtown, and just walking around just to look, even at nighttime. And the old Greyhound bus station used to be down on Kane Street, Greyhound and Trailways, and I used to get off of that. Get down there about 7 o'clock and catch that old bus and go to Edenton, Georgia, where my sister lived. That old bus go right out East Ponce Line through Covington Highway and all out through there. But yeah, I didn't know who I was when we dropped Ashley off that Dragon Con down there. That is good grief.
It used to be all houses down there in Peachtree, didn't it?
Well, no, a lot of theaters. That's another thing. I mean, I forgot to you just mentioned. We went down there just to walk around a little bit, and they got little eating places, and then you got people living up over them, right down in there. And I just couldn't believe that. And it's changed a lot. I wouldn't go back down there for nothing in the world, because it's just, I'd be lost.
Did you used to walk down there?
Oh, I'd walk from Powell Street and walk all the way down to town. Me and Charlie Harper.
What was the routes you took to get to downtown? What street did you take?
We went right Memorial Drive and cut down behind Hunter Street, where this Nick's little Greek place right across from Daddy D's.
Yeah, at Hill and Memorial.
Yeah. When I got old enough to drink, I used to go to the Capital Buffet where Nick's at. And that was Hunter Street right there. And I'd walk that way. And then sometime we walked down Memorial Drive. Sometime we'd hitchhike up to Washington Street and then cut through up there.
Going back to the Crackers game, do you remember any particular Yankee that you remember seeing? Did you ever see Joe DiMaggio or anybody like that?
No, Joe DiMaggio. The ones I seen was Mantle and Berra.
Okay, so that would have been in the 50s probably.
Yeah.
I see. What did people think of Mickey? What did you kids think of Mickey Mantle? Was he?
Oh man, he was my Yogi Bear is my favorite. But I just got through reading a book on Mickey Mantle, and I guess I was dumb and naive. When we was growing up, we thought some baseball players was heroes. We wanted to be like. I read that book on Mickey Mantle. And I just can't believe some of the things they done. He had his wife in one room on a road trip, and his girlfriend in the next room. He'd have sex with his wife, of course. And then popping pills. Even Mel Allen, that great announcer of the Yankees. And, the more I read, and then I read this book on Jose Canseco. And it's nothing now, Chad. And you say your name is Chad?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but dope heads and drunks, and
yeah.
So they're no heroes, that's for sure.
Do you remember Ernie Harwell?
Yeah.
Tell me about Ernie.
Well, I just remember what I read about and heard about him. He broadcast all them years, I think, for the Tigers, and but
He started with the Crackers, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Do you remember listening to him on the radio?
No, it was Hank Morton.
Hank Morton.
And they, I still don't know how they done. They told how they done. He, well, just say you broadcast the game. They somebody come there and they'd write down from the first inning, and he'd get there in the 7th inning. And this I write down. Dick Sundervick hit a fly ball to the left on the first inning on the first pitch. Second batter come up and he hit a foul ball that the catcher caught on the third pitch. Next batter come up and he got walked 4 pitches, 3-2 count. This guy would write all that down, and then you would come in the 7th inning and you'd just like it'd be the first inning. So and have something that went up. Fly ball to left, he hit something sound like a fly ball, and this.
So the game wasn't live; it was delayed.
Delayed till the 7th inning, and I don't, but I used to. I watch sports all the time. I got to where you got too many announcers, especially this college game. And if you know anything about football, let me come up to you and just say, I'm a diehard Tech fan, and Tech's getting beat 21-0, or leading 21-0 half, and you're the coach of the team that's losing. This lady says, what do you got to do to get back in the game? Now, what kind of question is that? If you know anything about football, you know what you got to do to get back in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say back to you, and you got 3 or more announcers in there, and they just overtalk each other.
What do you remember about the Esther Lefevre Park? Was that there when you were a kid, or?
There was 2 big old houses set there. The one right on the corner, the sidewalk, the porch come right up to the sidewalk, and the other one house there, where the little swing set is, it sat a little bit further back, so it had a bigger front yard. One on the corner didn't have any, and then right there, it's right there on the corner, Wiley and Powell, and that's where the viaduct was, the underpass.
Krog Street Tunnel?
No, Krog Street, the next block up.
Okay.
There's her there. But my wife worked for Modern Pictures when we got married, and she worked with a lady named Melinda. And she married, I forget this guy that she married, that I played softball with, and he, when I went to work for Big Apple Supermarket, he delivered groceries out there to the store. But his sister lived up here, and her husband got out of prison, shot and killed her right there on that sidewalk up there. And they. I had a cousin, Carol Brasher, that where the agave is, that used to be the cabbage patch, and that's where Carol met Esther Lefevre, and become real good friends.
You mentioned the Cabbage Patch. Where was that?
Right there where the agave is.
Was that a grocery store?
No, it was at one time, and then that's where the ladies go around there and meet and sew and talk and visit or whatever. Cause see, I'm my mom and dad still lived here when like I said, I moved out in '60. I think it's '60, and I would come back on the weekends and visit with them. And a lot of the houses done got tore down, or people done moved out.
Do you know where the town got, or the neighborhood got its name from?
Cabbagetown?
Yeah.
Well, now, my mom had 3 brothers. Uncle Aldry was the youngest, and Uncle Thomas was the next, and then Uncle Marion, they called him Peanut Brown. He played with Phil and John Carson. I don't know if you know who he is. Phil and John had a son named Johnny Carson. He played for the University of Georgia, and then later on played for the Georgia Bulldogs. Well, I just got through saying that, didn't I? He played for the University of Georgia, and then later on signed a contract with the Redskins. Well, he used to come up to the school in the summertime when it'd be raining, we couldn't get out, and he would talk to us, But I heard that when I worked in the mill, there was 2 main gates there, and cabbage was real cheap, and on Friday all the peddlers would come through with cabbage, and you could buy a 5-pounder bananas for $1. Now I told people for many years that's how I got started. Well, now my mama had 3 brothers. Uncle Alder died back in the early '60s, and then Uncle Icky died in the '80s. And Uncle Marion, one that played with Phil and John Carson, he played all these festivals that Cabbagetown used to have. I didn't get to come to them because I worked on Saturday, and that's when they had them. And so you can look that up on Facebook. And but he said that him and his brother Alder bought a truckload of cabbage and sold them, and but I don't know how true that is, but that's how my brother pulled that up. In fact, Uncle Marion's got a daughter. She's still living down in Conyers, and but that's what it said on Facebook. Him and Albert, his brother, bought a truckload of cabbage and sold them to people.
Phil and John Carson did?
No. My
oh,
uncle,
for the festival, they bring the cabbage down.
No. My uncle played with the festival, picked music.
I see.
And played. And called his name Peanut Brown. In fact, they had a big write-up about it back in the early '80s. Peanut Brown was his name, and he played with Phil and John Carson.
So it was your uncle that would sell the cabbage, or?
Yeah, him and his brother.
I see. So when you were a kid, it was called Cabbagetown as well.
Oh yeah.
I see. So it must go way back.
You know what the rich people call Cabbagetown? Cabbagetown.
Why is that?
Well, the rich people, that's how they say cabbage. Have you ever heard your mom and dad still living?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard them or your grandparents talk about the Depression?
Not really. My parents are your age, so they didn't really remember it. But I remember my grandma talking a little bit about it. Her mom worked as a seamstress in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh,
during the
really?
Depression, yeah.
My dad used to walk down the street, and he wore overalls all the years I knowed him. I've seen my dad in one pair of slacks, and that's when his dad lay a corpse right down here at Friendship hit it. But he'd be walking down the street, and he'd say, people say, they'd invite you in, for dinner. If they's on the porch, saw somebody come down the street, and so we are fixing to have dinner, come in and join us. That's how people was, And Dad would say, well, what are you, his name was Dewey. I said, Dewey, come on and have some dinner. So, well, what are you having? So we having beans and them names. He said, I thank you. He said, but I ate so much beans back during the Depression that the boy Williams will eat the seat of my pants out.
Where was your dad during the Depression? Did he live here?
I guess I heard him say. I guess he was just a young man, but
okay. Was he in Cabbagetown most of his life?
Yeah, they come down from Bartow County.
What year was that? Do you know?
I really don't know. I was born in '38, so they was already.
Did a lot of the people that got married? Did they marry somebody from Cabbagetown?
Was something? Yeah, sometime they would, and then sometime they might meet their sweetheart at the Temple Theater, and might live over in the Grant Park area. They could be, But yeah, they married some of them down at town. My dad used to be walking down the street, and he kept his steel syringe in his back pocket. And this Douglas Spice and a bunch of kids used to follow my dad around like the Pied Piper. And my dad would breathe that leg up and let one rip. He'd say, get out and walk, I'm tired of toting you. And they just laughed, and Doug would go around saying that. And every time Doug would let one rip, it's get out and walk, I'm tired of toting. So I couldn't say that on there.
Did people own the houses here, or did they rent them?
No, some of them, Miss Barnes owned theirs, and my leg cramping a little bit. Miss Barnes owned hers. There's a few on them, yeah.
Did you all own your house?
No, Mom rented that house for $16 a month. And you know what a shotgun house is? Right there on Powell. Mom always had her Bible up on the mantelpiece. Now I think Mom and Dad burned a fireplace and a wood stove up till So they made it was against the law or something. But I know how me and Marcia got married and moved out. We'd come home and chop wood for Mom, and you know.
What was the address on Powell Street?
167.
Is the house still there?
It is. And this guy let me come in there about 20 years ago, and I almost started crying. Just messed it up, I think. You talking about? I'm saying about Miss Barnes owning the house, and she would anything that she see on TV. All she had to do is tell her husband she wanted that, and he'd order it. And he worked for the railroad, like I told you. But Mom burned that wood stove, and Miss Barnes had anything she wanted. State of art. But she would always cook her cornbread and biscuits on Mom's wood stove. I moved out to over here Grand Park area, and then later on Lakewood. And my brother, well, Mom and Dad were still living then, but he.
You had sung a song that your dad used to sing.
Oh, that Mother-in-Law Blues.
Yeah, could you? Now, was your dad a musician?
No. Well, he could play a harmonica, you know. He'd get half lit and sing them old songs, you know. How long you been here in Atlanta?
83.
Was you here when you was living in Atlanta when the tornado come through?
Yeah.
There? I had just got through playing a song by Jimmy Rogers, and my dad used to sing this song. And that tornado come through, so I got the blues like midnight, moon shining bright as day. I wish a tornado would blow my blues away. And I played that song the night before that tornado come over. And they interviewed me from Atlanta Constitution, and I told him I told that guy he's in there where you sitting, and I still had old Jimmy Rogers sitting on a little table right here, and I told him, I says, my daddy and Jimmy Rogers can have all the tornadoes they want. I'll take the blues any day.
Can you sing that song for me that your dad used to sing?
Oh, about his mother-in-law?
Yeah, the one you sang for me yesterday.
You know, I keep asking you questions. I hope you don't think I'm...
No, not at all.
No,
Feel free. This is a two-way interview.
No, I hope you don't think I think you're stupid. You know what corn is?
Corn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's corn?
It's something you grow in a field and eat for dinner.
Them little things used to come up here on you.
Oh, like on your skin.
On your toe.
Okay.
And then you have to cut that hole in your shoe for that, you know.
Okay.
And you step on that corn and it hurts.
Right.
So you've never had a corn on. Hope you don't never have one. But, are you ready?
Yep.
Well, I went to a dance with my mother-in-law. I stepped on the corn and the heifer got raw. Now I'm laying here flat in the bed, wishing to the Lord that woman was dead. She shook a shiver here from my head to her feet, and I tell you, boy, she had me beat. When I came to, I was hospital bound, 'cause my mother-in-law really cut me down. Now it makes no difference what my wife may say, I'm gonna let her mother have her own sweet way. One more shot of the Chattanooga booze, and I'll keep singing these mother-in-law blues.
That's great. Where did he pick that up from? Do you have any idea?
He just saying he'd shiver heels, I guess, you know, when you, and then you sang one called I'm a rattlesnaking daddy. I'm a rattlesnaking daddy, rattle wherever I please. When you hear my rattler, you better get down on your knees. I've rambled down in Georgia, I've rambled down in New Orleans. I'm like a diamondback rattler, Lord, I'm feeling mighty mean. When I throw my rattlers over my back, all you brown-skinned beauties better bawl a jackal. I'm a rattlesnaking daddy, rattle wherever I please. When you hear my rattler, you better get down on your knees.
Wow, I can't believe you remember all the words to that. You must have sang it quite a bit if you remember that.
No, I used to, and I finally found that they say you can take these little cassette things that, you know, I think it's, well, I got a radio in there that the door flips over, and I got some cassettes, but They say somehow get them cassette songs onto a CD or however they do it. I don't know, but I got that song. I think old Hawkshaw Hawkins sung it.
Oh, okay.
I'm a rattlesnake and daddy.
Huh.
That's it. Did you ever listen to that song I was telling you about, Hank Snow?
I listened to the Gus Cannon song, Gus Cannon and the Jug
Yeah,
Band.
what do
That
you
was
think?
good stuff. I like all that old time music, the real old stuff. I liked it a
Yeah.
lot. What was the Hank Snow song you wanted me to listen to?
Night I Stole Sammy Morgan's Gin.
Night I Stole Sammy Morgan's Gin.
You want to hear
Okay.
verse 2?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to hear all of it?
All of it, if you got it.
Well, if you can bear with it. Listen, folks, and I will tell a funny story. You may think I'm sad, but I was in my glory. 'Twas the cellar I crept in, cobweb brushing by my chin. On the night I stole old Sammy Morgan's gin. As my hand fell on that jug, I had to snicker. But when I started for the door, I went much quicker. Far just up above my head, someone jumped right out of bed. On the night I stole old Sammy Morgan's gin. When I left that cellar, believe me, I was lifting. And the hops from one on to the other lifting. Then I stopped and hauled a plug, sit there till I drained the jug. And my mind said those fire drops I was missing. Then on my feet I thought I was, but wasn't. And for roads I guess I saw about a dozen. When I reached the old porch floor, I went smack up on the floor. On the night I stole old Sammy Morgan's gin. I just took one step and landed in the coal box. Then from off the mantle came a big alarm clock. Well, I finally got upstairs after passing 7 bears. On the night I stole old Sammy Morgan's gin. I saw mice as big as horses washing dishes. Then the apes stood before me baking biscuits. But the funniest sight of all was 2 roosters playing ball. On the night I stole old Sammy Morgan's gin. I saw mice as big as horses washing dishes. And the apes stood before me baking biscuits. Then the floor fell on my head as I tried to get in bed. On the night I stole old Sammy Morgan's gin. Well, I woke next morning and guess it's close to evening. And my room was certainly in an awful shape. Someone else had took my head and left an elephant there instead. On the morning I drinking Sammy's gin.
Wow, that's amazing. You can remember all those words. So
Well,
did you ever perform at all, or did you play an
Yeah.
instrument?
No, just clown around,
You must have listened to a lot of music.
Oh, I do all the time. I can't wait to listen to the ones you brought over here last night. I love good music.
You had mentioned before that you guys used to play football till late at night.
12 o'clock right on Savannah Street.
How did you see to play football?
Street lights.
Okay.
And throw horseshoes too under those street lights. And they done build an old house on that light.
Do you remember anything about the well, actually, what's the lot? What's the lot they built the house on? Do you know where?
Right on corner of Picasso and Savannah Street.
Okay.
So my backyard, if I didn't have a fence in my backyard, or those people did, my backyard would go right up to Picasso right there.
I see.
Well, Carroll Street Cafe says right there on the corner of Picasso. That little alley goes from Carroll Street over to Brent Avenue there.
I see. And do you remember anything about the trains coming through at all? Like, I guess the train went where the MARTA line is now.
Yeah, by the coal yard there. Yeah.
And did they go pick up stuff from the mill at all?
No, I don't think. No, I don't think he. If they did, I don't remember that. I know some truck drivers I know used to stop by and pick up certain things over at the mill, but no, I can't remember.
Okay. I think that's about it. Can you think of anything else you want to talk about? I hate to miss anything, but I can't think of anything else that I wanted to talk to you about.
No, you was talking before about how we went up with You didn't save no grown-ups. You didn't get no grown-ups yard. We used to play a game called Buck, 1, 2, 3 Buck, you know. And what you try to do, you try to get even Stevens on each side. Just say you had 6 on your side, and I'd have 6. You make your boundaries. You know, you couldn't go down to 10L, or you couldn't go to Brent Avenue, or you couldn't go to Carroll Street. And what you do, you'd have a base. You pick a brick or a can or whatever for a base, and just say you had 6. Well, I count 20 and give you time to run and hide your 6. And then I would send my 5 to hunt your 6 because I had to guard the base. And we'd flush you out. And if I grabbed you and I had to say 1, 2, 3 Buck, catch you no more, well, you could jerk loose. If I didn't hold you long enough to say that, I'd bring you back to the base, put you right here. Okay, so that, and then maybe one of your other teammates would be flush and come. I have you on base, but I'd be guarding you. I'd be in front of you, and I'd try to catch whoever's trying to free you. If your partner come up and freed you, then we have to hunt all over again.
So the person that would come out to free somebody, they'd have to grab a hold of them and bring them back with them?
No, just touch your hand.
Oh, I see.
One guarding the base. So when I call all your people, then we'd go hide, and y'all have to catch us.
Now, when the people would get flushed out, would they have to run by the base or something?
Yeah, they have to run
to the other side?
No, run to the base to free you. So I done caught you.
Right, but what if no one had been caught yet? Then
we'd have to flush them out. We'd say, give up, show up.
Oh, I see. And so they'd have to run by you?
Run from you, because you might be up under the house. I bumped my head many a time getting that.
Oh, I see. So the people looking for the people could capture them and bring them back to the base.
Right, yeah.
I gotcha. I follow you.
And then what? Old dirt road. We had a bully up there, and I packed that a can. We call kick the can. Something like Buck. If you run, you kick the can. And if you was running to kick this can, I was trying to catch you and stop you, but you kick that can. Well, I packed that can full of red mud and dirt. And this guy kicked and broke his toe. I was about 14, 15. From right here on Savannah Street, I had to go across, got through playing, not to carry my thought or nothing. Gonna go home, take me a bath. I said, Mom, with a hickory. So you like putting stuff in cans and causing people to kick it and hurt their foot. And then break that guy's toe, but it showed to swell up. He tore my butt up. Just because I packed that can, and I said, Mom, he's a bully. She said, they don't need you to make him do something like that, cause him to hurt his foot. But
right. And you said Marion Brown. He was your mom's brother?
Oldest brother, yeah.
I see.
Yeah, Marion Peanut Brown.
I saw a little bit on him on the internet. I went back on the internet and looked him up and saw a little bit, and it talked about fiddling John Carson.
Now Uncle Marion. So I told you 3 brothers. Well, Mom did. Uncle Lowry was a baby. He was in World War II, and then Uncle Thomas. And I was living right here on Powell Street when both of them passed away. But Uncle Marion, Uncle Aldrin, the youngest boy, he picked the guitar a lot, but he didn't pick it and play like Uncle Marion did. But Uncle Marion was pretty good.
Did he cut any records?
No, he just played with Johnny, fiddling John Carson. Excuse me.
Do you know where they used to play?
No, I know that right here. Have you ever heard of Sports Arena?
Mm-mm.
It used to be real big right up here. It's right at the end of Memorial Drive, right before where they're grading out there. Wag-a-lot. You go up. If you're going up, have you ever been up to Homegrown?
Yeah.
Okay. If you know where this part of Memorial Drive is, if you're going up Memorial Drive towards Homegrown, you turn right at the red light, and there's a big old, looked like a barn, tin barn sitting way down there. Excuse me, that was sports arena. They had a country music shows there and a lot of wrestling there. I was dating a girl when I was 18 years old. Her mom and dad was in a bad car wreck out here on Bankhead Highway, and it killed her mom. Well, her cousins lived right here on Brent Avenue, right up the street, same side where Jerry Weber lives, where they're redoing that house. And her name was Marcella Edwards, last name I had. And her dad, I remember her dad carrying us up there to the sports center to see George Morgan and little Jimmy Dickens. And I remember just as well, George asking Jimmy, said, Jimmy, how do you feel among all these big people out here? He said, I feel like a quarter among about 50 half a dollars or something like that. And old George sang, oh, won't you ride my little red wagon? And Jimmy singing, taking old cold hater and waiting. And, you know, I love climbing around. You sort of come by sometime and just hang out with me and see what I do to make people laugh. I'll be sitting right there at the Carroll Street Cafe outside, and I see this mom or dad pulling their Louise in a red wagon, and they'll be about 4 minutes that wall, and I'll say, oh, won't you ride in my little red wagon, 'cause you are my sweetheart too, baby. And they'll just smile.
Who sang that?
George Morgan.
And he played over at the sports arena?
He played over there, and Jimmy Dickens. And I see all these beautiful ladies. Of course, I can't be flirting too much because that little lady right there, well, she knows how I am. But I say, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all those beautiful ladies coming my way. And I said, where'd you get that pretty flower under your nose? Flower? I said, yeah. And then this girl be with, I said, look, I said, she's got one too. I said, y'all look at each other. I said, y'all see them flowers under your nose? And I said, no. I said, you don't see them tulips? And they just laughed.
So do you remember any of the other artists that used to play there besides George Morgan?
No, and then when the TVs first come out, I had old, I'll be darned, Smitty, Tennessee Ernie, and Tennessee and Smitty Smith, they were brothers.
And did white people visit Auburn Avenue very much? I understand that was a black section of town.
It was all a black section. They'd go down to the municipal market down to the end, down there, and blacks would be down there, no, and that's, I'm talking to you that when you was over here, I never could understand why, the blacks couldn't ride up front on the bus or eat at the restaurants like we did, and I also told you what my mom told Robert, the black gentleman that worked with Dad. It's her house, and she says who can come in, who can't come in.